welcome back to Scream Queen Stream. Y'all know me, I'm Jessica Cameron. If you do not know the lovely lady who is next to me, then allow me to introduce you to the one and only incomparable Miss Sadie Katz.
Hi. That's a really great intro. I love that. And could you follow me around and introduce me like that to everyone? I would love that.
Don't tempt me, because I definitely could.
Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute honor. So you guys who are watching this are probably most familiar with her genre work, from which everything expands starting in 2005. But I think you're probably most notably known for Wrong Turn 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, number 6. Yes.
Like the one that got banned, which we'll get to.
Oh, I love you. She's done her research.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
And that's also like a fascinating like indie film lesson for everyone, which is why it's so important to talk about. And something that also, because it was, well, we'll get to that in a minute. I want to find out because, quite frankly, when I was doing my research on you, I couldn't find hardly anything on how you got your start. Obviously, your IMDb goes back to 2005.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find any of the details on what made you want to be an actress, what caused you to want to get into filmmaking itself, because also she's a talented screenwriter, producer, and director.
I'll take all these compliments right now.
Please. So let's start at the very beginning. What made you want to get into film? And did you want to be an actor, or did you want to do behind the scenes?
That's a great question. Okay, so I wanted to get into acting always because I always did theater growing up. I'm from Orange County, and so I did plays, and I was writing scripts on. When I was like in 5th grade, my mom had this big green typewriter that was missing the E button. So I would like clack away and write a play and have to like write in the E stop. And, you know, like this is obviously before having a computer, which I'm giving away my age. But so I always wanted to act, but I thought it would be in theater. And then I grew up a Jehovah's Witness.
What? Really?
I know. Yeah.
That's amazing.
You wouldn't know it now. So I was not, you know, as a Jehovah's Witness, you're not supposed to be like part of the world or whatever. So it wasn't until I left that church and stopped believing in it that, I know, right? I'm like, that I then pursued. So my son was a year old or 9 months old, and then I left the church. The church kicked me out.
Why did you get kicked out? Is it because you weren't wearing shoes?
Probably. No, I actually got kicked out because I was married. I got married. I was a virgin. We were both virgins. And I wasn't a good wife, and I didn't want to be a wife anymore because I was only 19 when I got married. And I cheated on my husband. Like at 23, but if that was kind of like a gateway to he passed away too last year, so it's very sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I'm sad for my son, but I knew that I didn't want to raise my son into the church, so I kind of, you know, skedaddled. And there's things when you're a Jehovah's Witness that you're not allowed to do. So when I moved to LA to pursue, like, that's what I was like, I get to, oh my God, I'm not in this conservative religion and I can do whatever I want. It was literally like getting to live my life all over again. So I took this, now this is crazy, I took my son, didn't really have a lot of support or friends. I had an aunt that was basically at my aunt and uncle who live in Temecula. But I didn't know anyone. I just moved to LA and was like, I'm going to pursue acting and pursue my dreams.
That's amazing. So you did so with a baby.
With a 1-year-old. Like now I'm like, what were you thinking? But yeah, I moved to Van Nuys with my son. Well, that's another thing. What was I thinking moving to Van Nuys? But that was an accident. I didn't know LA. And the rent was cheap. But I moved and was like, I was in an acting class because I had done college theater and had won some awards and done some things like that. So, I mean, I won, like, I did speech in high school, like dramatic interp, and I was like second in I was first in California and then second in the nation for like very like crazy. I played like a teenage prostitute or something, like doing these monologues. So anyway, then when I moved, I moved with my son, which is totally crazy and something that you could only do if you're 23 and don't realize like how huge
how
that is.
big of a deal that is, and how difficult it could be, or what could go wrong.
Yeah. And so it took a while, like, that's why it took, like, when I really started working is when Griffin started, my son, started he had started, like, he got older. He was, like, in 5th grade. And so then I was, like, I could actually, like, not need a babysitter all the time. So
Yeah, because he's in school at least.
yeah. And
So.
and what was crazy is I would sometimes, like, I was doing play at theater in LA first, and I would lie and say that my babysitter canceled and bring Griffin when he was like 3 years old, and then they would be like, he's so well behaved, what, don't pay for a babysitter because you're not making any money doing this play. And Griffin would, like, be asleep in the back row while I'm doing like a World War II drama, and then I would carry him to the car, and it's very crazy when I think of it now. I'm like, that was a really insane thing to do.
But even leaving the church, I'm so, forgive my ignorance, I am not the most knowledgeable when it comes to Jehovah's Witness as a religion, but it's a pretty engulfing religion, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, they kind of take over your entire life.
They take over. Every decision is kind of based on, so I won't say every decision you make is sort of like, you can't wear a skirt above your knees. You can't wear spaghetti strap. It's modest dress and grooming. You couldn't, like, dye your hair a crazy color or be overly trendy. I remember once, it was so crazy that I always dressed very modestly, and I wore a skirt that went to my ankles, and that was like a trend, I don't know, in the 90s or something. And I remember I got in trouble because the skirt was too long, because it was like overly trendy. Like, you couldn't win. And you can't watch rated R movies. You don't celebrate holidays. College is kind of frowned upon. And actually, if I, like, met you and we got along well, you would not be my friend. Like, you only can be friends with Jehovah's Witnesses. So
it's kind of like that Scientology thing where they try to keep you all very self-contained.
You're
and surrounded by people that push the narrative of the church that they're wanting you to, like, worship.
Yeah, and I mean, you can't pursue things, like, you wouldn't pursue anything that wasn't about the religion or about preaching, so that's your priority. And you can't be alone in a room with a man that's not your husband or a family member. So you wouldn't, like, be alone with a man. It's very,
Now, your husband, so is it an arranged marriage situation?
No, you just marry someone in the church. And what's funny
they all kind of encourage this.
Because you can't have sex before marriage, and you don't really date somebody unless it's your view to get married.
Okay. So when you were, like, 18, dating the man who would become your husband,
he was my best friend.
Okay.
Oh, we were best friends since I was like 15.
Oh, okay.
And then by the time I graduated high school, I knew I was going to date him, but we had kind of liked each other for 3 years, and then started dating when I graduated high school, and then got engaged a year later, we got engaged a year later, and then I got married, and at 19 years old.
I think about what I was doing at 19. I had moved to Toronto, and I was, like, in college, and I just, like, boggles my mind that you were married and going to have a kid around that same time.
At 23, I got pregnant.
Okay, so 23.
Like, I had a really hard, like, right after I got married, I had, like, a complete meltdown, and didn't really know what I was doing. It took several years, and then at 23, after I had my son, because you can't have blood transfusions, my son was cesarean, and so I basically, when I was having him, I signed away, like, I will not have a blood transfusion.
So they would
if
rather...
my son dies, I don't hold the hospital responsible. We can do fake blood treatments.
So, like, they'd rather have you or your son die than do a blood transfusion?
Yes, so that was a huge turning point for me, because I'm driving my son home from the hospital, and Jehovah's Witnesses carry blood cards. They're like little index cards, like small things that's the size of like a driver's license, that you put next to your driver's license, that in the event of an accident or something crazy happening, that it says, "Do not give me blood." This is a religious thing. It's a legal document, and you carry it for your kid as well, which is nuts. So
I can't believe that's legal. Not to be offensive to Jehovah's Witnesses. It boggles my mind, especially that I don't believe that anyone should be able to take that right away from a child. If you're a grown up and you've made that choice for you, then I guess that's your choice.
I agree.
But to take that right away from a child that could lose their life is just shocking to me that it's legal.
Well, and I knew someone that the wife died in pregnancy, and she needed a blood transfusion, and so like her baby was born, but she died. I mean, everyone knew somebody who died,
of course,
and they were like kind of a hero. So when I'm driving home from the hospital, my son's in his car seat, and I'm in the back seat with him, and I was like, just everything in me just went, I said to my husband, give me your blood card. Give me my blood card. And I was tearing it up. I'm going to cry. I was tearing it up, and I threw it out the window. And I was like, I don't give a fuck. Like, there's no, like, if he needs a blood transfusion, then I guess I won't live forever in paradise, which is what you think when you're a Jehovah's Witness. Because I'm like, this is my job to protect this kid, and how could I ever not do that? So that was the first thing. And then some other stuff happened with like different changes of beliefs with Jehovah's Witnesses. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I remember the exact moment at a convention. Jehovah's Witnesses have conventions with thousands of people. They were changing, because they say like the truth gets brighter and stuff. They were changing a very core belief. And I just like, it hit me. I was like, oh my God, this religion's a lie. Like, and then I looked around, and the thing that I knew is nobody was questioning the change. So no one was like, oh, that really changes a lot about what we believe, our belief system.
And like everything we have believed since the dawning of time.
Yeah, and so I was looking around, and I was like, why isn't anyone upset about this? And then it was lunchtime, and I was like, no one's gonna say like, that's really crazy. And everyone was like, shh, you don't want to be an apostate. And I cried and was like, I need to get out of here right now. And then, then I ended up I was going to school and doing a play, and I met somebody, and, we had sex. I came home and said, I'm out. Like, I just did this. I'm going to keep doing that. I need to make love. I need to have a life. I want out, and I want my son out. I think at first I was okay with him still going to he was okay with going to the Kingdom Hall with his dad or whatever, but my son never fell for anything. Like, he's an atheist. Like, he's even worse. He's like 4 years old. Like, they're really, they make a lot of cheesy jokes, Mom. Like, yeah. So, I mean, so think of who I was, though, coming to LA, never being alone with any men or anything. You want to put like, hey, take advantage of me. Hey, I don't know what I'm doing.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for watching this first episode of Scream Queen Stream with Sadie Katz. You're going to stay tuned, because we will have several more installments in this wonderful interview, as well as a rapid fire segment. So I'm going to link everything about you down below. So definitely join her all over her social media, like, follow, subscribe to the page below, and maybe check out our Patreon. On our Patreon, you can get signed Google Hangouts. Coronavirus.
I'm sorry. Okay, I was holding. You were doing so well. Go. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'll just keep the Patreon link up here the entire time, so it's fine. Just more promo. Check it out down below. And if you want to see more Sadie Katz, definitely let us know what movie we should review. I think she should come in the hot tub and drink and hang out, because we did this whole interview sober, which kudos to us.
Yay, us.
Right?
You're
Look
so
at us all
great.
being professional actresses.
Like, wow.
I know, you and me both.
I know.
Anyway, thanks guys. Bye.